Tottenham Hotspur are one game away from European glory, one game away from that elusive trophy that has been haunting them for so many years. But to claim that trophy, they must defeat Manchester United. And in this video, that is exactly what we're talking about. We're going to be breaking down the tactics that Ange Postecoglou and his side could use to expose this Manchester United defence and in turn claim that Europa League title. From a defensive point of view, I actually think that Tottenham will be pretty fine. The back four of Porro, Romero, Van de Ven and Udogie really does give them a lot of flexibility, a lot of athleticism and a lot of ability to stop that counter-attack. Manchester United will rely on that. They will rely on absorbing pressure, trying to go forwards because the creation within the side just isn't quite there. And that is why when Tottenham inevitably do drop their line, they will be absolutely fine with containing that Manchester United pressure and then going on a counter-attack themselves, which is definitely an avenue they can look at. But I think Tottenham need to take the game to Manchester United, and that is where this side comes in. The midfield balance will be absolutely key, and so will the first goal, which is why we are focusing on Tottenham going forwards rather than defensively. The midfield area will be the key battleground for both of these sides. Manchester United's two dominating holding midfield players and Tottenham's energy in midfield. Bissouma floating from left to right to try and shuffle across and recycle possession. Bentancur with his ability to find spaces, with his ability to find passes. He is surprisingly good in those forward-thinking areas. And then you have the energy of Pape Matar Sarr. The ability for him to drive up, drive down is going to be absolutely crucial in overwhelming this Manchester United midfield too. And it's in this battleground that I think Tottenham can find most of their joy. In overloading this central area, what they're going to then be able to do is create the ability for runners off of the ball. And this movement off of the ball is absolutely key. Dominic Solanke holding the ball up, recycling play towards the midfield, who are then able to shuffle it out wide. It's in these wide areas that then you're going to have the penetrating runs from both Johnson and Richarlison. Udogie and Porro supporting when necessary, but when you go forwards, you need that energy, you need that dynamism, and the ability to run in beyond. It's absolutely crucial and is a key avenue that Tottenham can use to exploit this Ruben Amorim Manchester United side. To try to highlight to you what I'm talking about, I've got a scenario here that Manchester United had against Brentford. Now, to give you a little bit of context, Brentford ended up winning this game by 4-3. But if it wasn't for a couple of late goals from Manchester United, it would have been 4-1, if not a little bit more. It was incredibly one-sided in Brentford's favour, and it was through that dynamic midfield play that they were able to exploit this Manchester United midfield, but also their defensive line. So what have you got here? You've got one Brentford midfielder, 2 and 3. This is Damsgaard, you've got Norgard, and you've got Janelt. Janelt making those runs very much like how I expect Pape Matar Sarr to do, and you've also got to look at the positioning of the two Manchester United midfielders. Quite close together, but expected to hold and really take a lot of space. It's asking so very much of them. That's because the two wing-backs are dropping back into something of a back five. This is your Manchester United back four. Of course, there is Ahmed on the other side as well, but the amount of space that is expected from these two Manchester United midfielders and the amount of space they have to cover is far too great. And that is where Tottenham's midfield can come in. You can expect Bissouma to start shuffling across like Norgard, and then you've got Janelt being able to go and take the space. Look, there's acres of it. And Bomo is on the ball currently, and you can imagine this is something of a Brennan Johnson movement. Moving down the wing, making those penetrating runs, but also finding your attacking midfielder, perhaps in Bentancur or even Odobert if Ange Postecoglou wanted to go a little bit more attacking. But the key thing here is the ability to really take that space, move forwards and penetrate that Manchester United back line. This inherently forces this Man United backline back a little bit. And what you're doing is forcing them to drop. In dropping, you're giving them a load of space in the Brentford players to be able to occupy and then go forwards and organise their attacks. Now, Brentford aren't exactly the most or speedy of players, they're not the quickest, but what they do incredibly well is find pockets of space and make the most of the passes that they create. And what I mean by that is utilising heads-up movement, utilising the ability to take your time, take your touch, and make sure that the pass you play is perfect. And in doing that, you've got Mbomo moving in field, you've got Damsgaard making a run to really bring away Lenny Yoro. And look at what you've got here. You've dropped the Manchester United backline, you've got that midfield two looking to try and chase, and you've got acres of space for not only Janelt to run into, but a number of Brentford players. As Mbomo moves into midfield, what have you then got? You've got that run from Janelt into this pocket of space. The two Manchester United midfielders have now been taken away from that movement, from that possession, and they're following the ball. Kobbie Mainoo, who could be one of the attacking midfielders the Manchester United decide to utilise, it could be Garnacho, it could be Bruno Fernandes, but he's tried to drop back. It's too late though, because Janelt has occupied that space. Mbomo's going to play a really good pass into midfield. And remember what I said about utilising those moments, utilising those passes. Although they're not the quickest of sides, they make the most of the movements that they have, and they make sure the pass is right. And in doing that, you're then engaging all of these Brentford players and giving them the best opportunity to then create an attack to go forwards. Finally, what have you got? You've got your winger or attacker making movements from right out to in, and that means moving from right to left, moving from left to right, going out wide and then coming centrally. And what does this do? This pushes this Manchester United backline back, but you also are breaking the lines. You're asking for this pass. And this penetrating pass is so crucial, it's so key, because it gives not only that real forward-thinking momentum for Brentford, but it forces Manchester United to turn back the other way, something they desperately do not want to do. Finally, you have a forward-thinking player ready to make that movement as well. Another one here, and all of a sudden you're turning Manchester United around and you're forcing them to go back towards their own goal, something that Brentford absolutely want to do, Manchester United do not. And look at the acres of space that they've left, this incredibly high line that they're looking to try and exploit. They've picked a moment, but it's been broken, and it's been broken due to that great out-to-in run from the Brentford attacker, and he's able to square it over to his teammate who found himself in acres of space because of that great forward-thinking Brentford movement. This is something that I think Tottenham can replicate pretty easily and really expose this Manchester United defensive line. There will undoubtedly be acres of space for Tottenham Hotspur to exploit, thanks to Manchester United's midfield too, and I'm sure there will be a lot of space in midfield for Tottenham to try and utilise and turn Manchester United over in some form of a transitional manner. However, there will come a time when Manchester United decide to be a little bit more defensive, when they drop their defensive line, looking to hold themselves into the penalty area, giving Tottenham the momentum and asking the question of whether they can break down this Manchester United back five. And this is how Tottenham do it. It's through an X factor actually, and that X factor is Richarlison. Now, before you judge a little bit too quickly, Ange Postecoglou has been favouring Richarlison in the European matches, but I think the plan that he could have for this game is a little bit different. What we're thinking about is isolating the space between centre-back and wing-back. Centre-back and wing-back, in particular on the side that Richarlison is on, so that's the Tottenham left wing, the Manchester United right wing. Depending on how attacking Manchester United want to go, this could be Dalot, it could be Ahmad, it could be Mazraoui. Regardless of who it is, they're not going to be defensively very good aerially. And that is where Richarlison comes in. Richarlison is an extremely good header of the ball, and his out-to-in runs could really cause Manchester United some problems. Dominating the wide areas and forcing these Manchester United 10s to start to come back towards their own box is going to be the main avenue that Tottenham can look to utilise when Manchester United look to be a little bit more defensive. Utilising the runs of Pedro Porro, utilising the runs of Brennan Johnson, and forcing this Manchester United defensive line to drop back a little bit. They have two choices. Either they drop back and forgo the space that's in front of them, preventing them from being able to transition as much as they possibly want to, or they leave them. If they leave them, you have several 2v1 scenarios, you have several opportunities for Tottenham to go forwards, and you have several opportunities for a cross. Pedro Porro has a really good right-footed cross on him, and that is where the infield run of Richarlison from out to in is going to be absolutely crucial, exploiting the space that's left between centre-back and wing-back. And in doing that, what you're asking for Richarlison and Solanke is to be able to utilise their assets, get their head on the ball, make sure that they are challenging these Manchester United players. The right-sided centre-back could very well be Mazraoui. It could be Lenny Yoro. And in any case, I think you'd back Richarlison or Solanke in those scenarios with an aerial duel from Pedro Porro. It's yet again another avenue that Tottenham can look towards to really start to break apart this Manchester United defensive line and in turn get themselves that win. And before we end, let's take a look at what this could look like. Yet again, I've utilised Brentford because I think they did the best possible job of exploiting this Manchester United line. And don't get me wrong, it could have been so much worse for United had Brentford not taken their foot off the gas a little bit and had they not been a little bit unfortunate. So what have you got here? You've got your Manchester United defensive line. You've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3. Those are your 3 centre-backs. And this is the distance between your centre-back and wing-back, and then centre-back and wing-back. Now, in this particular scenario, out on this Brentford left-hand side, the Manchester United right, the difference between the centre-back and the wing-back is far greater. This is because Ahmad is tracking back as one of the wing-backs, and you've got a young defender out at right centre-back. This is something that I think Manchester United can exploit, even if Lindelof comes in, even if Yoro comes in, even if Mazraoui comes into this right-sided centre-back role. I think you'd back Richarlison. And then what you need to think about is the dominance on this right-hand side. Notice the positioning of the 2 midfielders. You've got Eriksen and you've got Ugarte. Ugarte's dropped back and Eriksen is here. Again, space between the 2 of them, but they can't cover the amount of space that the wide areas are really asking for. Garnacho out on this left-hand side for Manchester United isn't tracking back, and that means that Mbeumo has a free run of this right-hand channel because the Manchester United left wing-back is really concerned with the Brentford right-back. And this could be Porro, or Porro and Johnson could swap round. That could also be a thing. They could also alternate. But it means that there's acres of space for a cross to be played into the box. And the moment that Tottenham start to go forwards and the moment they start to isolate those spaces, I believe they will be far too much for Manchester United. Mbeumo has the ball currently, and imagine this is Brennan Johnson or Pedro Porro. As he drives towards the box, you're then asking so many questions of this Manchester United back line. But notice what else is happening on the other side of the pitch. I mentioned the distance and gap between the right-sided centre-back and the right wing-back for Man United. And look at this. You've got 2 Brentford players. This is actually the left-back for Brentford and the left winger for Brentford looking to get in onto that back post. It's clearly an avenue that Thomas Frank has isolated, and it's clearly an avenue that they are looking to exploit. So why can't Tottenham? From that point, you're then looking towards the cross. Can Mbeumo beat his man and then cross the ball into the box for the players at this back post? Well, he has quality, he has skill, very much like a lot of the Tottenham players in this side, regardless of league position, they still have quality, and he absolutely is able to get in. You've got the 2 Man United players not closing down quickly enough, and then you've got that moment at the back post. It's a really good cross from Mbeumo, and I really do firmly believe that it's something that Tottenham can really look to isolate, really to exploit. And look at this, you've essentially got a 3v2 at the back post. This could be Richarlison, this could be Solanke, it could be a number of Tottenham players, it could even be a doggy if he decides to go forwards. But the key point here is overloading that back post, making sure you're isolating the space between right wing back and right centre back, all the same on the other side, is a key avenue to exploit, and I firmly do believe that Tottenham have the option of doing it. Whether they do it in the game remains to be seen. It gets put in by Brentford here, and I firmly do believe that it's a chance that Tottenham could create and replicate themselves. But as I said, whether they're able to do it in the game remains to be seen. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on how you believe Tottenham could exploit Manchester United in this game, and whether you think they're going to win the game in its entirety. Is this Tottenham's time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learnt something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.